My wife had an affair with my best friend, and now they're both scheming to steal our $250, $0 house and my savings. How did I not see the signs when she was secretly planning this with him? Hello, everyone. Dear listeners, please share your thoughts in the comments section below. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Now, let's begin the video. Using a throwaway for obvious reasons with certain specifics modified to preserve anonymity. I never thought I'd be the guy to get blindsided like this. I always thought I knew my wife, Lisa. We'd been together for 8 years, married for 5, and we had what looked like a perfect life on paper. A beautiful house worth about $250, $0, decent jobs, 2 dogs, and a kid on the way. But somewhere along the way, I started noticing little things that didn't add up, little cracks in the perfect facade. I just didn't want to see them at first. It all started about 3 months ago. Lisa became more distant, more bitchy, snapping at me over the smallest things. She'd roll her eyes when I'd try to talk about the future, and she started canceling plans last minute. I'd find her on her phone more often, secretive texts, quick replies, and she'd always hide the screen when I came near. I thought maybe she was just stressed with work or maybe she was tired. I told myself, men do stupid things when they're paranoid, but deep down I knew something was wrong. Then she started going out with friends more often. She'd leave early in the evening, not come back until late, and I'd get these vague stories about girls' nights, happy hours, or some bullshit about catching up. But I'd catch her lying about where she was going, and her stories never lined up. She'd say she was at a bar with her coworker, Jessica, but I'd see texts from Jessica that didn't match her story. Little things, but enough to make me suspicious. The real bombshell was when I found her phone one night. I was looking for my keys and her phone was just sitting on the kitchen counter. I wasn't snooping, at least that's what I told myself, but I saw a message pop up from someone named Mike. It was a text from her saying, "Can't wait to see you tonight, it's been too long." My stomach dropped. I didn't recognize the number, but I knew it wasn't her usual friends. I looked at her recent calls. She'd been calling and texting this Mike guy all week, late at night, and deleting the messages right after. That night I stayed awake watching her sleep, trying to process what I'd just seen. My mind raced. Was she cheating? Was this really happening? I felt numb but also furious. How could she lie to me so easily? How had I missed all the signs? I replayed every argument, every cold shoulder, every excuse I'd ever given her for her bad mood. I felt betrayed, not just because she was cheating, but because I had been so blind. I was supposed to be her partner, her best friend, the one she trusted. Instead, she was sneaking around, planning her future with someone else behind my back. The worst part was knowing that this wasn't just about cheating. It was about money too. Our house, our savings. She'd been whispering about getting ahead, making plans I didn't know about. I found out she'd been secretly transferring money into an account she kept hidden, and I had no idea. I'd been working hard, building our life, and she was plotting to take it all away from under my nose. I felt sick, like a fool. How did I not see the signs? How did I not notice that the woman I loved was secretly scheming with my best friend Jason to steal everything I worked for? I knew I couldn't just confront her without a plan. I had to be smart. I started digging deeper into her phone, her bank accounts, her emails. I needed to know exactly how far this was going, how deep her lies ran, and what her real plan was. It was like waking up from a nightmare, feeling betrayed and furious at the same time. I couldn't believe I'd been so blind for so long. Everything I thought I knew about Lisa, about us, was crumbling before my eyes. And the worst part, I knew I had to do something about it, but I wasn't sure what yet. The more I looked into her phone and bank statements, the clearer it became that Lisa wasn't just cheating on me. She was planning to take everything we had built. I found emails between her and Jason, my best friend, discussing how they could split the house and use the money we saved for something better. They even talked about faking arguments to keep me from suspecting, making it sound like they'd do whatever it took to get their hands on my house and savings. I couldn't believe it. My own wife and best friend, scheming behind my back like that. I remember sitting there, staring at the screen, feeling this cold, heavy weight in my chest. It was like a punch to the gut every time I read another message, another lie. She told me she loved me, that she wanted to build a future together. Meanwhile, she was already planning her escape and Jason was in on it. I started to piece together how she'd been acting, how she'd been pushing me away, all while secretly plotting to betray me. The worst part was the lies she told me when I confronted her. I decided I couldn't wait any longer, so I sat her down one night and asked directly, "Lisa, who is Mike? And what's really going on?" Her eyes flickered and she tried to brush it off, saying, "It's nothing, just a coworker, you're overthinking it." But I knew better, I'd seen enough. I pulled out the messages and told her I knew about her plans, about her and Jason working together to steal the house and drain our savings. Her face went pale and she started lying even more, saying it was all a misunderstanding, that I was paranoid, that she still loved me. That moment was pure chaos. She denied everything, called me crazy, said I was imagining things. But I was. I knew the truth. I felt a mix of anger and heartbreak. How could the woman I loved do this? How could she lie to my face? I'd never felt so betrayed in my life. The woman I trusted with everything was scheming with my best friend to take my house, my money, everything I'd worked for. And she had the nerve to look me in the eye and deny it all. I remember feeling this intense, almost uncontrollable rage. I wanted to shake her, to scream at her, to make her see how much she'd hurt me. But I also knew I had to stay calm, play it smart. I told her I needed time to think, that I wasn't going to let her get away with this. Inside, I was already making plans. I knew I had to protect what was mine and find a way to stop her and Jason from pulling off this scam. I couldn't let her destroy us, not just the house, but everything we'd built. The emotional fallout hit me hard. I felt like I'd been punched in the stomach, like I'd lost my footing in the world. I'd always believed in honesty and loyalty. Now I was faced with the reality that the woman I'd loved, the woman I'd married, had been lying to me for months. The betrayal was raw and it cut deep. I felt betrayed, angry, and a little lost. But underneath all that, there was this tiny flicker of determination, this fire that told me I wasn't going to let her get away with it, not without a fight. I had to figure out the next move, and fast. After that night, everything changed. I spent the next few days gathering evidence, making sure I had everything I needed to confront Lisa and Jason properly. I knew I couldn't just go in angry and blind. I had to be strategic. I started recording her calls, saving her texts, and printing out the emails between her and Jason. I even hired a private investigator just to confirm what I already suspected, that they were actively working to steal my house and drain my savings. During these days, Lisa kept up her act. She'd cry, say she was sorry, that it was all a mistake. She'd tell me she loved me, that she'd never hurt me, but I could see the cracks in her story now. She was defensive, trying to hide her phone whenever I came near, and I caught her deleting messages more than once. Her lies became more obvious, and I started to realize how deep this betrayal went. She wasn't just cheating, she was actively plotting against me, and she didn't care about the damage she was causing. One afternoon, I decided I'd had enough of her lies. I set up a meeting with her and Jason at a local coffee shop. I wanted to confront them face to face, with everything laid out on the table. I told her I knew about her plans, and I told Jason I had all the evidence. Her eyes widened and she started spinning stories, saying she was just confused, that she never meant for things to go this far. Jason, of course, played the innocent victim, acting like he had no idea what I was talking about. But I had enough. I told them I was done being played for a fool and that I was going to protect my house and my savings at all costs. The confrontation was intense. Lisa started crying, begging me to forgive her, saying she'd do anything to fix things. Jason just sat there smirking, pretending he didn't know what I was talking about. I felt a mixture of rage and disappointment. How could they think they could get away with this? How could I have been so blind? I realized then that I had to act fast. I couldn't let them keep scheming behind my back. I told them I was calling the police if I found any more evidence of fraud or theft. That shut Lisa up for a moment, but I knew it wasn't over. That night I stayed up late going through everything I'd collected. I drafted a plan to stop them, first to secure my house legally, then to cut off any access they had to our funds. I contacted a lawyer to understand my options and found out that I had a lot more leverage than I thought. I could freeze our joint bank accounts, get a restraining order, and even prevent Lisa from selling or refinancing the house without my approval. I felt a tiny spark of relief. I wasn't going to let her or Jason walk away with everything I'd worked so hard for. The emotional toll was still heavy, though. I kept thinking about the life I'd built, the trust I'd had, and how it all crumbled in just a few months. I felt betrayed, angry, and helpless at times. But I also felt a strange sense of clarity, like I'd finally woken up from a nightmare. I knew I had to stay strong, to be smart, and to do everything I could to protect what was mine. I realized that sometimes people you trust the most can turn out to be the biggest enemies. And when that happens, you have to fight for yourself, no matter how much it hurts. The next few days were a whirlwind. I moved quickly to put my plan into action. First, I met with my lawyer and explained everything: the evidence I'd collected, the potential theft, and Lisa's ongoing scheming with Jason. We drew up some papers to freeze our joint bank accounts and to put a hold on any sale or refinance of the house. I also filed for a temporary restraining order, just in case Lisa or Jason tried to do anything reckless. I knew they'd be desperate to stay one step ahead, so I had to be prepared for anything. Meanwhile, I kept a close eye on her. I installed security cameras around the house, just in case they tried to sneak in or make moves without me knowing. I changed all the passwords on our accounts, making sure I had full control. It felt surreal, like I was fighting a war I never thought I'd be in. I'd always believed in honesty, loyalty, and building a life with my wife. Now, I was fighting to protect what was left of it, knowing that she'd betrayed me in the worst way possible. Lisa, of course, didn't take this well. She tried to act innocent, crying and pleading, saying she was sorry, that she never meant to hurt me. She claimed she was just confused, that she loved me, and that she'd never do anything to jeopardize our family. But I wasn't buying it anymore. I'd seen too much, heard too many lies. The evidence was too clear. She was planning to steal our house, drain our savings, and run off with Jason. I started to realize that her words were just manipulation, a desperate attempt to save face before everything fell apart. One afternoon, I confronted her directly. I told her I knew everything about the affair, the plans, the money transfers, everything. I told her I wasn't going to let her take what's mine without a fight. I gave her an ultimatum: come clean, cut ties with Jason, and agree to a legal separation, or I'd take her to court and make sure she never got her hands on a penny of our money or our house. Her face twisted with anger, and she tried to deny everything again, but I had the proof. I showed her the messages, the bank statements, the emails. Her mask finally cracked, and she started crying, begging me to forgive her, saying she was sorry for everything. That moment was a turning point. I felt a mix of anger and sadness, but also a strange sense of relief. I realized I couldn't keep pretending everything was okay. I had to face the truth and protect myself. I told her I was done trusting her, that she had betrayed everything we built together. I told her that I'd do whatever it took to keep my house and my savings safe. I also told her that if she truly loved me, she'd stop lying and start being honest. But I knew deep down that trust was broken beyond repair. In the days that followed, I focused on the legal side of things. I worked with my lawyer to prepare for the court hearings and to ensure I had full control over the house. I also started planning what I'd do if she tried to fight me in court, or if Jason tried to manipulate the situation. I realized I'd have to be relentless to protect what's mine. The emotional toll was heavy. I'd never felt so betrayed and humiliated. But I also knew I couldn't let her or Jason win. I had to stand my ground, no matter what, because at the end of the day, I wasn't just fighting for my house or my savings. I was fighting for my dignity and my future. The court date finally arrived, and I was a nervous wreck, but I knew I had to stay strong. I had gathered all the evidence: texts, emails, bank statements, and witness statements from a few friends who confirmed Lisa's behavior, and I was ready to fight for what was mine. My lawyer laid out the case clearly: Lisa and Jason's conspiracy to steal the house and drain our savings. I could see Lisa's face flicker with panic as she realized I was serious. Jason, too, looked uncomfortable, probably knowing I had everything on him, too. The courtroom was tense. Lisa tried her usual sob stories, claiming she loved me, that everything was a mistake and that I was overreacting. Her voice trembled, but I saw right through it. I knew her game. I also saw Jason's face, smug at first, but then noticeably nervous when I presented the evidence. When the judge asked Lisa directly if she was planning to take the house and money, she hesitated. That hesitation was all I needed. My lawyer requested an immediate injunction to prevent her from selling or refinancing the house. The judge listened carefully, then issued the order. Lisa was ordered to stay away from the house, and all financial accounts related to the property were frozen. It felt like a huge weight was lifted, at least temporarily. I felt proud that I'd taken control, that I'd fought back against her lies and scheming. But I also knew this wasn't the end. She was going to fight hard to keep her scheme alive, and Jason was right behind her. I had to stay vigilant. Over the next few days, Lisa's behavior grew more erratic. She started calling me, begging, crying, promising she'd change, that she loved me. But I'd heard it all before. I told her I didn't want to hear her lies anymore. I'd already made my decision to protect myself and my future. I realized I couldn't trust her again, not after everything. She'd betrayed me too many times, and I wasn't going to let her manipulate me into giving her another chance. I began making plans for the next steps, dividing our assets legally, preparing for the possibility of a long court battle, and figuring out how to rebuild my life without her. It was a painful process, but I knew I had no choice. I'd learned a hard lesson about trust, betrayal, and the importance of protecting what's yours. I also learned that sometimes the people closest to you can turn out to be your biggest enemies. I had to accept that I'd been blindsided, but I was determined to come out of this stronger. My house, my savings, my dignity, those were worth fighting for, and I'd do whatever it took to make sure I kept them. Now I'm just trying to move on piece by piece. I don't know what the future holds, but I do know one thing: I'll never let myself be so blind again. Trust is fragile and betrayal cuts deep. But I also know I'm resilient. I'll rebuild, and I'll be better for it. Because at the end of the day, no matter how much it hurts, you've got to protect yourself and your hard-earned life. The aftermath has been a whirlwind, but I'm finally starting to see some clarity. The court case dragged on for months, but in the end, the judge ruled in my favor. Lisa was ordered to vacate the house immediately, and all her claims to the property and our savings were dismissed. It was a hard-fought victory, and honestly, I felt a strange mix of relief and emptiness. I'd done everything I could to protect what was mine, but the damage done was hard to undo. Since then, I've been working on rebuilding my life. I moved out of the house, found a new place to live, and started focusing on myself and my kid. The trust was shattered beyond repair, and I knew I couldn't stay married to someone who had lied and schemed against me so ruthlessly. It hurt like hell to let go of everything we'd built, but I realized I had no other choice. Staying would have meant accepting her betrayal, and I wasn't willing to do that. Looking back, I see how blind I was for so long. I ignored the small signs, the little lies, the distant attitude. All of it was warning signs I refused to see. I was so confident in our relationship that I never thought she'd do something like this. But people can surprise you. Sometimes, the ones you trust the most are the ones capable of the deepest betrayals. It's a hard lesson, but one I needed to learn. Now I focus on moving forward. I've cut ties with Lisa completely, and I've started therapy to deal with the emotional fallout. I've also become more cautious about who I trust. I realize that trusting blindly is dangerous, and that's a lesson I won't forget. I've learned to value myself more, to respect my boundaries, and to recognize the warning signs early. If there's one thing I want anyone reading this to take away, it's that betrayal cuts deep, but you can survive it. Protect your assets, your sanity, and your dignity. Trust is earned, not given freely, and sometimes the people closest to you can be the very people you need to watch out for. It's painful to admit, but better to face the truth than live in denial. I don't know what the future holds, but I do know I'm stronger now. I've been through hell, but I came out the other side. And I hope my story serves as a warning. Trust carefully and never ignore the signs. Because when someone is scheming behind your back, you don't get a second chance to fix things. You only get to protect what's yours and move forward with your head held high.